Hello. Well, today I am planting out asters, and there's a hedge that I have that you've probably seen in the other videos that I usually line it with tulips, and then as the tulips die, I hope that the lupine. There was one year where I had lupines that were, is it lupines or lupines? I'm not sure, but lupines that were that came into bloom shortly after the tulips, and I've been trying to replicate that every year since. But my lupines, I think lupines are supposed to be perennial, but they haven't been sticking the last couple of years. So I just planted out like those lupines, and hopefully I'll get some flowers on them in the next couple of months. We'll see. They may be too small for that. I'm not sure. And then I try to round out the show of this particular bed as we get into July and then into late summer with asters, the Chinese asters, so purples and pinks from these asters. And I really love these flowers. They're good doers. They, yeah, they're easy and nice. And so I thought I would show you what I'm doing with that, because there's a lot of stuff that I do that I neglect to show you all. And you know, speaking of that, if you have any suggestions about things you'd like to see that I'm doing here, maybe you've seen things around the garden, you're wondering, you know, how's he doing that, or what did he do to do that, or what mistakes did he make, or anything like that. Feel free to put it in the comments to kind of ask about it, and maybe I can put it into a future video as well. I'd sure love to get more subscribers and more people engaging and participating in this activity. It's fun to do it with you all, as opposed to just be doing it by myself. And you know, we're different as gardeners. It's surprising to me. I've got a lot of colleagues who could care less. I have a good friend and colleague. I won't call him out with his name, but he's been here. He's been over to the house for hours and hours and hours at times for the last 3 months, and never even saw the tulips that were out here, because just doesn't care about the garden, right? So, you know, that's, you know, people are all different. We all care about different things, but I know you all like gardening and you all like gardens, and so that's why it's fun to share this with you here. So yeah, that's my plug for the channel and for growing our engagement here. But anyway, back to the asters. So I'll show you what I do here. So what I've been doing this season is I have this little pan. That's about as much as I want to do at once usually. And one of the things that I've been trying to learn to do is do more things at my potting bench while I'm standing up, as opposed, because I spend too much time leaning over. I think it's not good for my back, and my knees aren't that great for like squatting down kind of thing either. So my options are somewhat limited there in terms of doing things comfortably and safely. So in any case, get my gloves on. And this is indicative of a lot of plants, the way I do this. This is not unique to the asters, but I thought I'd show you with my asters this morning. So most of our plants, all of our annuals, unless we have a failure, we grow them from seed. And you can look in prior videos and see kind of that process starting all the way back in July, or excuse me, starting back in January is when seed starting starts for certain things. So you know, here's oh no, I killed that one by accident. So not a great example. So, you know, if I have something that's not a plug here, you know, you can tell that's really ready to go, because you got all the white roots there, and then I've got something that's kind of not great there. So I'm going to pull it out so that I get down to the one, right? And then I'm just putting it in my tray there. That way, when I go to lean over, I've already poked holes in the ground with a stick. And so when I go to put these in the ground, I'm just plopping them in. I don't have to be leaning over, taking them out of the tray, you know, fiddling around with it. So I'm trying to I'm trying to limit my lean over time, my bend over time, essentially, with my methodology here. This one's not a very good one. There we go. So I'm just gonna fill up this tray here, and then I'll go be plopping these in the ground. So here's a good example of one where I'm going to divide it. I'm going to try to get a little bit of root with each one, right? So I'm just going to take it there and tear it apart. Somebody's going to tell me I'm doing it the wrong way. That's great. If you've got a better way, if you've got a suggestion for me to do this a different way, please go ahead, throw it in the comments. But I'll tell you, this works. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? So it works. Is it suboptimal because if doing it a different way would be more optimal? I wouldn't know, because at the end of the day, it survives and it works. But sometimes just because something works, that doesn't mean it's optimal, right? So open to suggestions on that one. I'm an accountant in my day job, and so much of what I do in gardening a lot of times reminds me of accounting in some ways. And what I was saying about things being suboptimal, and you don't know what you don't know, right? I work a lot of times with a lot of growth companies, and sometimes you've got some really good growing businesses that are putting off millions of dollars of cash flow, and the owners and the operators are so happy with that, right? And they don't know that they may be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. They're putting off millions of dollars. It's often more money than they thought they would be making, or than they've made in their lives, especially if it's a startup or a growth company. So the fact that if they optimize, they could be making a few $100,000 more. It's just not in their head. They're not thinking that way, right? And they just don't know. They'll never know. And I see that often in my business, that by not optimizing kind of your cash flow procedures and your tracking and your management and your operational accounting, you could be, in your taxes and your tax opportunities, you could be really limiting yourself and leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. But again, if you're putting off millions of dollars of cash flow, it's just not in your mind a lot of the time. And yeah, it reminded me of this. It's like, I don't know if the way I do things is necessarily optimal. It works. I get lots and lots of produce and flowers, and so the fact that I might get more if I did it in a better way, it's not necessarily in my mind. So yeah, should be, could be. I'd love to learn more. Okay, I'm gonna go put these in the ground. So here I am, about to plop these guys into the ground here, and as you can see, this bed's a little bit scraggly. It's in the in-between. I haven't reached the level of the pros who are able to keep their beds always looking great with succession. My beds will die out before the next thing typically comes in, because I'm still learning my timings. So that's what you're seeing here. And yeah, you can get these asters in the ground here. Well, I still have some more asters to go in the ground, so I'm going to poke some more holes over here in between the lupines. And yeah, ideally the lupines will grow up and flower first, and then by the time they're done, the asters will kind of take over, is what I hope will happen. But like I was saying earlier, the lupines are kind of small, and they may not really be designed to flower much until next year if they were to survive over the winter. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm excited because there's a couple of perfect artichokes behind me here. So I'm going to grab them and we'll have them for dinner.